Good morning, students. This is Mr. Boyd again. We're going to continue our lessons on solving quadratic equations. We've already explored the idea of solving a quadratic using factoring and using the square root method and complete the square. So today we want to look at using the quadratic formula, which is derived actually from doing complete the square with the standard form of the equation. Now, the quadratic formula is pretty lengthy, so we mainly use that whenever we can't incorporate one of the other methods. So if this equation cannot be factored, we would normally jump to the quadratic formula. So the first step we need to look at when solving a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula is we need to identify the coefficients a, b, and c from the equation. And to do that, the first thing we want to do is put it in standard form. So standard form, again, is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, or ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So we want to set the equation equal to 0, and in doing so, we're going to put it in standard form. All right, so let's jump right into this first example. So we see that this equation's already in standard form, and it's set equal to 0, so we need to identify our a, b, and c. So in this equation, we can see that a equals 1 because the coefficient of x squared is 1, b equals -5, and our constant c, it's not a coefficient because there's no variable there, our constant c is -36. Okay? Now that we've done that, we want to write our formula out. Now, guys, I'm suggesting that each time you use this, you go ahead and write the formula out. That's going to help you memorize it, and you need to memorize the formula. So x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Hopefully you used one of the songs that I put in today's lesson, and it was able to help you memorize this. So now, just like with any other formula, we're going to substitute our values in here. Okay? So I've got -b. I come back over here. b is -5. So I'm going to put that in parentheses because I want the -5. Plus or minus the square root. Let's see, b squared. So I come back here and find b again. -5 squared minus 4 times, what's a? 1 times c. What's c? -36. I want to make sure that that radical is extended over the entire part of that problem. Fraction bar should go under the entire part of that problem. Then I'm going to go 2 times a happens to be the number 1. Okay, let's go ahead and use our order of operations and simplify this. So I can do the -5 and go ahead and just make that a +5. Now the next step is to simplify all this underneath the radical. So -5 squared would give me 25 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times -36. So I've got a negative. 4 times 36 is 144, I believe. Let me check that real quick. 4 times 36 is 144. Okay. And then, of course, 2 times 1 is just 2. All right. Not going to do anything with that 5. Still working on just simplifying this radical. So 25, let's see, I've got minus a negative here. So I'm going to go ahead and change that to a plus and a plus. And I'm going to add those two together. And when I do, 25 plus 144 is going to give me 169. All divided by 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of 169. Well, the square root of 169 is 13. Want to check that on your calculator? Go ahead. We've done that quite a few times. And yes, I do have that memorized. Okay, I'm going to continue this problem over here. 5 plus or minus 13 all divided by 2. So to get my two solutions, again, just like with completing the square, I'm going to do 5 minus 13 divided by 2 and 5 plus 13 divided by 2. So let's see here. 5 minus 13, that's going to give me a negative 8 divided by 2, which is going to give me a negative 4 as one of my solutions. 5 plus 13 is going to give me 18 divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 is going to be 9. So if I use my curly braces to show my solutions, negative 4, comma 9. Now notice how much work it took to get this problem, the answer to this problem. Well, that's the very reason that we use factoring or square roots if we can first, because using the quadratic formula is quite lengthy. However, if you use the quadratic formula, you can solve any quadratic equation. Okay, let's go ahead and look at one more example here. I think one more will do us. Okay, so let's see here. X squared minus 8x equals 20. Well, I notice this is not in standard form. So to start off with, I'm going to subtract this 20 from both sides and get this thing in standard form and set it equal to 0 all in one step. So I've got x squared minus 8x minus 20 equals 0. Now I'm going to identify my A, my B, and my C. So here again, A is 1, B is negative 8, and C is negative 20. Write my formula. X equals negative B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Now I'm going to substitute my values in again. So I'm going to have a negative 8 plus or minus negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1. Let's see, C happens to be negative 20 on this one. And I'm going to divide all that by 2 times 1. Okay? So let's see, let's go ahead and do this negative 8. We'll make that a positive 8 plus or minus. The square root of negative 8 squared would be 64 minus negative 80. 4 times 1 times negative 20 is negative 80. I notice I've got a negative going on here again. Okay. All right, so let's continue here. Let's see, 8 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, 164 plus 80 is 144. Now, because there's a positive number under this radical, I know I'm going to get two real solutions. That's just a review of what we talked about earlier. Okay, I'm going to continue the problem over here. 8 plus or minus the square root of 144 divided by 2. So let's see here. The square root of 144 is 12 divided by 2. So to find my two solutions, I need to do 8 plus 12 and divide by 2. And then I'm going to need to do 8 minus 12 and divide by 2. Well, 8 plus 12 is 20. Divided by 2 is going to give me 10. 8 minus 12 is going to give me a negative 4. Divided by 2 is going to give me a negative 2. Okay? Let's see. I think we have time for one more before I have to go to my meeting. So here we're going to subtract 12. That's going to give us 2x squared plus 7x minus 9 equals 0. The main reason I want to do this one with you is because it does not have a leading coefficient of 1. So here we see A is 2, B is 7, and C is negative 9. Now we could have used complete the square on this one, except for the fact that the leading coefficient is not 1, which means we would have to factor out a 2, which would create a whole bunch of fractions that we don't want to have to deal with. Okay? So let's go ahead and write our formula. Well, that was pretty bad. X equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, so here we're going to have negative 7 plus or minus square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 9. Extend that out a little bit there. Divided by 2 times, okay, we're multiplying by 2 times 2 this time. So let's go ahead and simplify this thing. Negative 7 plus or minus. Again, we're going to work this radical first. So I've got 49 minus 4 times 2 is 8. I'm going to have another negative. 8 times 9 is 72. And all that's going to be divided by 4. So I've got negative 7 plus or minus the square root. Now I need to add 49 and 72 together. Let's see. I believe that's going to be 121 divided by 4. Now notice again, I've got a positive number here, so I'm going to have 2 real solutions. Negative 7 plus or minus square root of 121 divided by 4. So let's see, that's going to give me negative 7 plus or minus 11 divided by 4. To find my 2 solutions, I need to do negative 7 minus 11 divided by 4. And then I need to do negative 7 plus 11 divided by 4. Okay, so negative 7 minus 11 would be negative 18 divided by 4. Let's see, what is negative 18 divided by 4? 18 negative divided by 4 equals, well, that was bad. Where's my clear button here? Negative 18 divided by 4 equals negative 4.5. And then here, negative 7 plus 11 is going to give me a 4 divided by 4, which is going to give me an answer of 1. So my 2 solutions are negative 4.5 and 1. Okay, guys, that concludes this video for today's lesson. Go ahead and click subscribe if you found it helpful. Have a great day.